We're going to take you through the front pages first of all now as we go into our paper review, starting with the Daily Mail, and it's leading with the full horror of Israel's 9/11 as Hamas gunmen, or indeed terrorists.
That's a video we'll be coming to later in the paper review, but in the Mirror, Keir Starmer yesterday offered the nation hope for the future as he vowed to undo the damage caused by Tory misrule.
And finally, The Sun, they're going with this morning, but we're not able to show you the front pages, so you just have to take my word for it. They are reporting on how she stepped down from the show after 14 years. OK, let's go through the papers. We're joined this morning by Dawn Neeson, Andy Jones, taking us through them. And Andy, we've just been speaking to Bridget Phillipson, who's making her speech up in Liverpool today. And we also started by reflecting really on Sir Keir Starmer's sparkling performance, courtesy of all the glitter yesterday. What is the Mirror making of it? Of course, a left-leaning paper.
So it was a glittering speech, not quite in the way he wanted, but let's get to the guts of it, because we've all heard all about that. He's talking about a decade of renewal. It's going to take a decade of renewal to right Britain on a proper axis. He's got to get in once before he gets in again and again for that decade, but he wants to end the stranglehold of Tory decline. He wants to build 1.5 million homes. So that is basically 5 Milton Keynes worth of homes. We're not quite sure where he's going to build those or how. He's talking about the grey belt, removal of the grey belt. This isn't the green belt of our lush, wonderful outdoor spaces. This is the sort of grey wastelands where we're not building anything on it. And why? We need to reduce the amount of red tape to build on these things. And this is something that a lot of the parties have discussed, not just the Labour Party. He also wants to cut the 8 a.m. scramble for GP appointments. Again, we don't necessarily hear how, but I think it's something that we all agree with. And he wants a publicly owned GB Energy, an alternative to some of the privately owned energy companies which have been wringing our bank accounts dry over the last few years. Well, I mean, those are the top headlines on it.
I wonder if
it's not necessarily the policy, it's on how you're going to do it. 1.5 million homes, great. Well, how?
Well, that's
where?
kind of the point Grant Shapps was making when we spoke to the Defence Secretary. It used to be one of his many portfolios a few portfolios ago, sort of pouring cold water on it, and especially as they're very much in favour of devolution. Well, we know at local level how much people oppose having new housing developments built on their backyards.
Yeah,
so all those sorts
I've got to say as well, we were promised in advance of this conference, Dawn, policy-rich detail. And actually, new homes, we knew about that a few weeks ago. And improving the NHS, we always hear about that. Did we actually hear anything that new from Keir Starmer yesterday? Because there was lots of rhetoric, lots of swelling up of the chest, lots of glitter. But did we actually get any detail?
Well, I think the problem you've always got with our party conferences from all parties is they are very sketchy on the detail. And, you know, I mean, Keir was talking a good talk, you know, working people respected, crime prosecuted, ambulances come, minimum wage enforced, infrastructure gets built. Yeah, it all sounds great. I mean, no one's going to say, no, I don't want any of that stuff. No, stop. But, I mean, there is no detail, and the devil is always in the detail. And as Andy was just saying, this sort of like, you know, the building of the 1.5 million homes, was it? Well, I mean, didn't Boris Johnson go on about scrapping the planning laws and building more homes? And I feel like everyone's been saying it since time immemorial, and no one actually seems to get it done.
I think it's really interesting that they're sort of almost afraid to announce new policies because their lead is so strong in the polls. They just don't want to open themselves up for anything. It's kind of like steady as she goes, as long as they can. Keep quiet because it's working. And the one policy that they have announced, which is this, you know, a sort of attack on private schools as the Conservatives see it, they've already had to U-turn on the charitable status. And certainly, look, from this blue wall that they are trying to reach out to, that's not going to go down well with them. So it's not worth it.
No, I think you're right. I think they're scared of announcing actual policy because
they don't need to.
They don't need to lose some votes. And plus, the other side will probably nick it.
And do you know the target of this grey land? Guess where that was originally put into a manifesto, which party and what year? 2015, UKIP. UKIP have been saying this for years. UKIP have been saying, because they don't want to go after the green belt because they're going to lose votes in NIMBYs, so let's scramble around and find all this land. This is the recycled, reheated UKIP policy from Starmer. So, again, you know, the country seems to be ready for change, but no real meat on the bone.
Quite. I agree that, but also in a conference you're never going to get all of the micro detail across because otherwise it's just going to be impenetrable, right? But looking back from Rishi's speech, what was it, 10 days ago, a week ago, the only things I can remember off the top of my head is the smoking stuff and HS2. So I think Starmer's got a bit more meat to the bones than Rishi's speech.
Didn't get his wife to introduce him, though.
No, but he got glitter. Come
He
on,
did.
I think,
He had his own version
every leader now should
of an
have
intro.
glitter.
We're going to look at a viral video now, and this one is Norwich Football Club, Norwich City, I should say. They've launched what is frankly a very powerful video, all to mark World Health Day, and we can take a little look.
Oh, wow. How are you doing? You good? Oh, sorry, thank you. How you doing? God, it's exciting, isn't it?
So, how's the week been?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I hope things are better outside of football.
No, you keep it. Keep it. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's incredibly powerful.
Very poignant video, just for the benefit of those who couldn't see that on radio. There were two football fans at Carrow Road, Norwich's ground, celebrating. One of them was on the surface very, very happy and bubbly and vivacious, getting stuck into the match, and the other one was quite grumpy. And then at the end there, one of the fans had taken his own life, and when you cut to who was there, it was the happy guy that had gone. And I guess the message, Andy, from this is on World Mental Health Day, you know, what you see on the surface isn't what's going on inside. And a lot of men in particular kind of overcompensate with the bravado, but the truth can be very different inside.
Yeah, I've always reported on suicide cases, and very often we had absolutely no idea. And that's public figures and that's private individuals. And the message from this campaign is speak to people. And it is if you haven't spoken to your friend, get in touch with them, send them a text, ring them. It's family members, get in touch, send them a text, ring them. It's reach out. And that conversation, that simple, how are you, that 5-minute phone call or even just a voice note can make a huge impact to somebody.
Yeah, it makes me emotional, actually.
I watched it yesterday and I couldn't stop watching. I go to football every week, and so many of the men there will spend like half an hour discussing the intricacies of a VAR decision. But you ask them how they are, and it's like, I'm fine. They just don't talk about it. And sort of like, I think, you know, men are 3 times more likely to take their own lives than women. And the suicide rate is halved for women since 1981, but only gone down 17%. It's the biggest killer for young men in this country. So I think it's so important for Norwich to put this video out there. And hopefully men get the message.
Yeah.
Start talking. It's not all about VAR decisions.
Yeah, well done, Norwich City, absolutely. We were talking about bed bugs with Paul Coit a little bit earlier on, Dawn, and oh, my goodness.
I think he's got him.
I was going to say, does Paul have a particular problem with this one, then?
Well, he was itching the last few days.
Yeah,
but in all seriousness, there is some sort of picture and footage now of these being spotted on the London Underground.
On the London, but they're tiny weenies.
They look like ladybirds to me. I'm not convinced.
They're horrible.
They are.
Yeah.
Have you got them as well, then?
Well, I've got ants in my pants. I haven't managed to get bed bugs yet.
We're already on your pants. Marvellous. It's been in the papers for quite a few days now, but page 5 of the Daily Mail's done a big story about it. And these are invading from France. Yeah. And there's horrific pictures from the streets of Marseille where people are just chucking out their mattresses onto the streets because the infection is so high. And they have now spread across the channel, and they are here, and they are on the London Underground. And, you know, there's been a 65% increase in bedbug infestations the year September. And they're really, really hard to get rid of. And Luton actually is the bedbug central of the UK at the moment. Now, quite why they're all going to Luton, I have no idea. But they are actually on the case. Now, most of the time, don't want to worry people, most of the time a bite is harmless. You're going to get a bit red, bit itchy, etc., etc. But you can have the allergic reaction like you can to a bee sting or a wasp sting. But they're incredibly difficult to get out.
That's the main problem. It's not so much the irritation they cause, it's just that it can be years.
If you get them
literally
in, if you get them in your house, you have to have the whole house fumigated, almost every piece
and even
of
that
furniture.
might not. The whole house has to be dismantled.
And there's horrible footage there
awful.
on screen of bed bugs on public transport. Interesting about Luton, because there's a huge conversation. A TV star in France who's been cancelled because he said they're coming from the third world. They're coming on people. Luton, obviously being an airport terminal, there could be something other. It's actually because of the world is warmer and they're prospering and breeding, and they just happen to be hitching a lift on people. Eurostar. Next thing you know, they're on the underground. Next thing you know, they're on your Paul Coyte's leg. Next thing you know, they're in your house.
I bought an antique bed for my daughter. We've moved house into a really old house, so I wanted to get a bed that kind of fitted, and it came with a mattress. And so I put the mattress in, and suddenly, as I was driving in this morning and I was listening to it, I suddenly thought, I mean, we've had it a few months now and no bites, but I did think maybe, second-hand mattresses aren't really that nice.
But they are.
I should order a new one.
They are actually hotspot.
The interesting thing is we largely got rid of bed bugs after the Second World War by using a chemical, but this new bed bugs are resistant to that chemical.
Right.
And so this is why they're so hard to get rid of. And also we saw horrifying scenes in Paris of people chucking out all of their furniture, all of their mattresses, all of the beds, and the whole streets blocked up with people's furniture that they're chucking out.
It's not very glamorous for Paris. They've just had Paris Fashion Week. They've got the World Cup going on, and all the eyes of the world on France.
Oh God, I'm
itching.
itching.
So grim.
Well, they're French. You'll probably set fire to them all and get rid of them. Andy, moving on to this story. What's going on at a posh restaurant with chicken pies, including, what's this, a head?
Have you got the image of this? There's an image of this. It's a posh chicken restaurant called Le Grand Coq. 22 quid for a pie, and it's filled with chicken hearts, livers, and all sorts of bits. But rather like the scene of Alien in a Sigourney Weaver film.
Can I have a look and I'll see if I can hold it up?
Coming out
we aren't
of
able
the
to
pie.
show the pictures today. Which camera would you like that? Oh, we've got to try not to show too much of it.
No,
Oh, it's the wrong way around. There we go.
There you go.
Just in here.
Here we go. We've got a little head coming out of that. Which camera would you like, Megan? Do you want anyone in particular?
Right just there,
Taking it
you
on
can
three,
see.
there you go.
You can get chicken on a stick with a leg sticking out of it.
can't really see
It seems very, very gimmicky, very grotesque. I'm all for no.
So just to be clear, this head is plucked. So it's sort of a fleshy... You know how you
Still
used to
got
have
the
those
beak on it.
pie aerators
that's right.
with the open beak?
Yeah.
That's the blackbird.
That's the purpose of that.
Stargazy
Yeah, the
pie.
blackbird
So
beak.
rather than a blackbird beak made out of pottery, it's a real chicken's head coming out of the pie with its beak open. It looks horrible.
This costs you £22, by the way. It's a London pop-up restaurant. And the thing is,
It is. Popping up.
in their defence, they are saying that we're using all parts of the bird, so there's no waste. So it's actually quite an environmentally
no one's going to
friendly
eat that, are they? They'll take that out of their pie and put it on the side. I don't accept that argument. We're using it all. No, you're going to stick that in the bin still.
They also do a kebab thing with
Ozzy Osbourne, isn't it?
They also do a drumstick with the foot still on it, so you get the foot as well.
And you can even get a creme caramel with chicken fat on top of it, which is a bit extra to me.
Have you ever eaten chicken feet?
Yes.
It's not for me. I have
delicacy.
gnawed on one.
My mate's Vietnamese and he loves chicken feet. So that's the best bit. And his favourite bit of salmon is the cheeks. Apparently salmon cheeks is the best meat 'cause it does the most work. There you go, you live and learn.
You do live and learn. Oh, every day's a school day.
It is.
Thanks for that. We've only got 30 seconds. Andy, can you in 30 seconds give us tips on how to avoid being swindled by people like the Tinder swindler?
Yeah, the victim of the Tinder swindler has done an interview in The Telegraph about how to avoid being romance scammed. And number one is, if they ask for money, don't give them money. But it's also, if they're love-bombing you at the start of the relationship and saying, I love you, that's a bad sign. And also, anyone that's also spending huge amounts of time online, but funnily enough, when you want to meet them, they're not available.
Lots
Common
of red
sense
flags
information.
there. Andy, thank you very much indeed. Thanks to you, Dawn. See you again soon. For now, though, we're going to take a little break. Back in a sec.